CEO and founder of the TAIR, or the AI Review, a serial entrepreneur and AI content contributor for the Yuan AI Health platform. She's passionate about education, social impact, and women empowerment. Next in line is Janet Sawari.
Good morning. My name is Janet Sawari, and I am the CEO and founder of TAIR Labs. And I am in the business of doing the impossible. I am in the business of AI, of driverless vehicles. I am in the business of rocket ships. I am in the business of doing what Elon Musk does. I am in the business of thinking about our future and making it happen. When I was in primary school, I started this little group that was called the Dream Girls. You might be thinking this is so unrelated to what I have to talk about today, but you're going to love the stories I'm going to share. My friends and I, we believed we had the biggest dreams. We believed we were going to be anything that we wanted to be. And so we thought amongst the seven of us, we were going to be the dreamers, and we wore it with pride, like the colors on my blazer. I was doing everything from debate, Toastmasters, I was in the rugby team, I was the swimming captain, I was in tennis, I was throwing balls, chasing balls, and kicking them at the same time. And I'd go in class, and I'd get straight A's, and then I'd go outside at break, and I'd sit with my friends, my chomies, and I'd be like, I'm the captain of the Dream Girls. And on the weekends, we would negotiate with our parents to give us everything from a chicken to some mealy meal to bread, butter, you name it, whatever was in the pantry, we were going to take it. And we would go and empower other people, other young girls, other young boys, wherever they were, cook, donate at charity homes. And that was part of the dream. That's how we started. But what I probably didn't tell you is the true beginning, the true North Star of my story, where it really, really started. As I share with you these stories, my only ask is that you take it upon yourself to connect the dots. Because then that way, it's not just my story, it's our story. Because then that way, you are going to be able to dream through my eyes. All right? So here's the true beginning of the story. It didn't start with the Dream Girls. It started with my father. When I was a little girl, my dad, my father, he asked me what I wanted to be. And I told him I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to see everything. I wanted to fly everywhere. I wanted to experience life from the top. But then my father looked at me and said, Janet, the only difference between a pilot and a bus driver is that one is down here and the other is up there. So it's a no. And I thought, what? No. And then, this was his response to me crying and begging and, no, Dad, I want to be a pilot. I can make so much money. No, I mean, I really love it. I'm really passionate. It's not about money. He then looked at me and said, but Janet, I have no problem with you becoming the person who makes the planes or the person who owns the plane. Game changer. So what my dad did is he didn't cut off my dream with just being a pilot. He opened up a world of possibilities. I could be more than just a pilot or a driver or someone who's employed. I could empower myself so much that I could buy a plane. And not only that, my dad made it exponential. The opportunity opened up itself to not just making a plane or owning one. It became you could make a plane that didn't even exist. And I thought, I can, and I will, and I must. So before I continue, I want you all to think deeply, clearly, intentionally about what it is that you want to be. It might be something that's been inspired by your grandmother, your father, your aunt, a brother, sister, a friend, or even those with us today, our teachers. Think about what is it that is within you that looks so impossible that you want to do. Whatever it is, I want you to keep it in your heart and whisper to yourself, I can, I will, and I must. I can, I will, and I must. The world is so big, and it's so ready for you. A sea full of possibilities that you shape with your mind. And what STEM does, what science, technology, engineering, manufacturing, what it does is it opens up that sea of possibilities. A few years later, I became a teenager. I've got all my colors on my blazer. I got all my chants. I can, I will, and I must. I've got my dad, and he's cheering me on, and it's time to go to the big world. It's time to choose which university am I going to go to. Here's the third part of my story. I hated picking litter when I was a teen. Very unrelated, but stick with me. I never used to pick anything up from the floor that wasn't mine. I never used to go around meddling with any random pieces of paper on the floor, but one fateful day, I picked up the dirtiest piece of paper you would see in a public place, and I tried to read it. And it said, Vada, something opportunity in Ukraine. And I thought, wow, this looks interesting. And I took that little piece of paper to my dad, and I said, hey, this looks interesting. You know, there's a country out there called Ukraine. And he thought, yes. Said, there's engineering programs, I could probably go there. Fast forward, I go to Ukraine, I experience this whole new world, I start to speak Russian, как дела, меня зовут Janet. Another year later, I pick up another random piece of paper. Maybe this litter picking business is good for me, but I pick up another piece of paper and I find myself in China. 大家好，我叫珍珍. And then a few years later, maybe we're now 22. Maybe I was now 22 by then. I get into my dream life without knowing it. I got an opportunity to work at Baidu as one of the engineers. And on my first day, they asked me to wait for the team in a bus, a little small bus. And the team was nowhere to be seen. And guess what happened? The doors closed in this bus. And it drove away with no driver, driverless, autonomous. That's how I got introduced into the AI space. That was my first real day as an engineer. But guess where I started? Who can guess which part of the story is the start? Was it the beginning? Was it the end? Was it the middle? The beginning or the beninging? Which one? I am hearing so many things right now. The beginning, okay. The beninging, okay. It's all right. Whichever part you think is the beginning, the inception or the conception of Janet Sawari, you're right. But here's the good thing or the beauty about my story and how I told it today. I also told you something without saying it, using a vocabulary. I showed you that your story can start anywhere. It could have already started, and you don't even know it. But when you connect the dots going back, that's when you'll truly see when it started. And so my message to you as I conclude is never, ever be afraid of dreaming. And don't dream small, dream big. And don't just dream, but don't forget to say, I can, and I can. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. That was really inspirational. The part where you talked about how you went out and helped others, it really spoke to me about what it truly means to be South African and have that spirit of Ubuntu. And as you know, what they say, Umuntu ngumuntu gabantu. Thank you, guys. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for the lovely Miss Janet? We'll be taking 3 questions, please. Yes, we have a question there.
Ma'am, how did you learn Chinese?
Hello.
Thank you. Well, how I learned Chinese was really funny, but when I got to China, I had 6 months worth of Uber money. And after 6 months, I would have to use the public bus. So I had 6 months to talk to each and every taxi driver that was taking me around. And I knew that after that 6 months, I'd have to take a bus or a train or interact with the locals. And so that's how I learned. I had no option.
Does it work?
Yes?
Is it luck that you
Hello?
managed to go to countries?
I don't think it's luck, it's destiny.
Ma'am, how did you learn? Where do you come from actually? Do you come from South Africa or America?
I am a proud African hailing from Malawi. Thank you.